Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to solve the pharmacology question bank as per RGUHS. So I'll start from the first unit, that is general pharmacology. So in general pharmacology there are no 10 marks. So I'll start from the 5 marks. Short essay. Coming to the first question, what are the essential drugs and give example. So essential drugs are those that satisfy the priority healthcare need and the population to all the time. So what is the selection of criteria for essential drugs? So it is selected on the regard basis of disease prevalence, evidence and efficacy and safety and the comparative cost effectiveness. So what was the purpose of essential drugs are? It is intended to be available in the health system at all the times from the adequate amount and appropriate dosage form, so the quality and the price individual and the community can afford. So what are the implementation for the essential drugs? So the implementation for the essential drugs are intended to be flexible and adaptable to many different situations, that exactly which medicines are regarded as essential when remains to the national responsibility. So the national list of essential drugs in India, the first essential drug India was prepared and released in 1996, and the list was subsequently revised in 2003. So in 2011 the publication of revised list containing 348 drugs. So in comparison to national list essential medicines 2003, the number of medicines deleted, which is 47, and 43 medicines are added. The category which includes in the national list essential medicines are three types. Number one, PST. So P is the sense of primary, S in the sense of secondary, and T is in the sense of tertiary. So PST containing primary, secondary and tertiary containing 181 drugs, ST containing, that is secondary and tertiary containing 106 drugs, and T containing, that is only tertiary containing 61 drugs. So there are 7 steps to get a new medicines on the WHO model list for essential drugs. So number 1, identification of the public health which needs for the medicine, and number 2, the development of the medicine, which is phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials. So the regulatory approval in the number of countries that are effective and safe medicines in the market. Number 4, more expensive under different field circumstance post marketing surveillance. And number 5, price indication for public sector use. Number 6, review by WHO disease program which define the comparative effectiveness and safety in the real life situation. So for comparative cost effectiveness and the public health relevance, medicines included in WHO treatment guidelines. Number 7, submission to WHO expert committee on the essential drugs where the medicine included in the WHO model list. And the examples of essential drugs are anesthetics, that is probative medicines, medicines for pain and palliative care, anti-allergic and medicines which are used for analgesics, antidotes and other substances which is used in poisoning, anti-convulsant and anti-epileptic, anti-infective medicines and anti-migraine medicines. So question number 2, what are the different route of drug administration with example? So route of drug administration: oral, parenteral and topical. So in parenteral, injections, inhalations, transdermal and mucosal there are there. So oral, there are 2 methods for administration: by applying topically to the mouth and by swallowing absorption along GI tract into the systemic circulation. So the common doses for oral administration, that are capsules, tablets, etc. So number 2, that is parenteral. In injection, intradermal, insertion of medication into the dermis where the blood supply is slow and the drug absorbs slowly. For example, tuberculin injection. And number 2, subcutaneous, intramuscular and intravenous, intraperitoneal, and etc. In second, inhalation. In inhalation, intra-arterial, it is a method to inject into the artery like plasminogen activator, that is TPA injection, intrathecal and intra-articular. And number third, transmucosal, that is sublingual. So sublingual, there are to be placed under the tongue and produce immediate systemic effect by enabling the drug absorbed directly through the mucosal lining of the mouth which beneath the tongue. So example, nitroglycerin, etc. Number second, nasal drugs and rectal drugs. So question number third, explain the tachyphylaxis with example. So what are the tachyphylaxis? So it is the condition where people experiences a sudden decrease in the effectiveness after taking a medicine. So the change usually occurs very abruptly. So when this happens, the medication stops working as well as for them as it did before. So example for tachyphylaxis are nitrates for chest pain. It is a group of medication that treat a type of chest pain called angina. Taking a break from the medication can sometimes prevent the problems. So number second, hydrazylene. It is a medication that treats the high blood pressure. It's effective for lowering blood pressure when you first start it, but for sometimes it stop working as well after you have taken. So this is one of the reason that hydrazylene is not as first choice medication for high blood pressure. Number third, oxametazolone. And medication that causes tachyphylaxis are antidepressants. So depression medication can become a less effective over the time for some people. And certain eye drops, people using eye drops for eye redness or irritation can experience tachyphylaxis. This medication includes over-the-counter eye drops with the ingredients such as tetrahydrozoline. Number third, albuterol inhalers. And number four, erectile dysfunction medication and how it is treated, how tachyphylaxis was treated. So prescribing a higher dose, switching to the different medications, adding a different medications and using non-medication treatments. So question number 4, explain the different membrane transport system with example. So the membrane transport system is the transport system by which the various molecules enter into and onto the cell across with the cell membrane. So cells have various transport mechanism. The major group for the transport system is categorized by active transport and passive transport. So number 1, active transport. It is a mechanism that doesn't require any cellular energy to transport molecules across the cell membrane. So it is a passive process. In these transport systems, molecules are transported from its higher concentration to the lower concentration until the concentration gradient is determined or diminished. So passive transport does not work against the concentration gradient. So the passive transport includes simple diffusion or a passive diffusion. And number second, that is osmosis. So in simple diffusion, it is a transport or a movement of the molecules from higher concentration to the lower concentration without any expenditure of the energy. So this is the process where the molecule simply diffuses through the pore of the cell membrane. So the simple diffusion does not require any transporter protein. When the concentration of the molecules is different inside and outside the cell membrane, the concentration gradient is established. Then the molecules move from the higher concentration to the lower concentration until the equilibrium is maintained. When the concentration of the molecule becomes equal on the both sides, the membrane transport process stops. So number second, that is osmosis, the movement of solute or a solvent or water across the membrane is response to the concentration gradient of the solute is known as osmosis. So the bacterial cytoplasm have generally high solute concentration than the surroundings. So there are 3 types of solutions based on the comparison to the bacterial cytoplasmic concentration. Number 1, isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic. So second one, active transport. It requires the transporter protein and continuous supply of the cellular energy for the transport of molecules across the concentration gradient of the membrane. So the active transport is very important to the transporter molecules which are present in very low concentration in the medium. The substance that transported by active transport are glucose, amino acid, organic acid and inorganic ions. So example for active transport are lactose, E. coli and sodium potassium pump. So active transport includes primary active transport and secondary active transport. So question number 5, what is enzyme induction and inhibition with example? So enzyme induction is a phenomena where increased the metabolizing drug ability of the enzyme by several drugs and chemicals is called as enzyme induction. So carbamazepine is another drug which can induce its own metabolism. So rifampin has been shown to cause up to 20 times increases in midazolam metabolism. So cigarette smoking can cause increase in the elimination of thiophyllene and other compounds. So mechanism for enzyme induction and the examples for each mechanism: phenobarbital induced accelerated metabolism, oral anticoagulants, tricyclic and antidepressant, corticosteroids, therapeutic efficacy of these drugs are reduced. So the narcotic drugs that increases the CNS depression with meperidine, increased active metabolites of the meperidine, and the hormone induced, that is cytochrome P450 expression. So the hormone induced induction for certain drugs like acetaminophen and xenobiotics like dietary phytochemicals are carcinogens like aromatic amines which produced in cooking and those found in the cigarette smoke. So induction by inhibition interaction. So isozanide, ethanol and some xenobiotics induces cytochrome 2,1 and cytochrome 3A1. So the molecule mechanism and then inhibition. So what is enzyme inhibition? The phenomena of decrease in induction, we have saw the phenomena of increased drug metabolizing ability. So in inhibition, the phenomena of decreased drug metabolizing ability of the enzymes by several drugs and chemicals is called enzyme inhibition. So the process of inhibition, there are two types, that is direct and indirect. Direct inhibition, it may result from interaction of the enzyme site, the outcome being a change in the enzyme activity, and the direct inhibition can occur by one of the three mechanisms, that is competitive inhibition and non-competitive inhibition and product inhibition. So the characteristics very similar to the substrate. Number second, that are inhibition, indirect inhibition. It is brought about by the one of the two mechanism, that is repression. So the repression is defined as the decrease in the enzyme content. So it may due to fall in the rate of enzyme synthesis that are affected by the ethanoin, acetomycin D, or because of rise in the rate of enzyme degradation such as carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide etc. And altered physiology. Due to nutritional deficiency or a hormonal imbalance, the enzyme inhibition is more important clinically than the enzyme induction, especially for the drugs with a narrow therapeutic index. So for altered physiology, the examples are anticoagulants, anti-epileptic, hypoglycemia, since it results in a prolonged pharmacological action with increased in the possibility of the precipitation for the toxic effects. So here we have completed the 5 questions of pharmacology. Tomorrow I am going to give from 6 to 10. So be prepared for your semester examination. So please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.